Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. There were beautiful flowers that grew on the grass like stars. There were 12 peach trees in the garden. The birds sang sweetly on the trees. Listen to them in delight. They said to each other,
"How happy we are here!"
One day, the giant, who had gone to visit his friend, the Cornish ogre, decided to come back to his castle. When he came back after 7 years, he saw the children playing happily in his garden.
What are you doing here?"
he cried in gruff voice. The frightened children just ran away.
My own garden is my own garden,
said the giant.
and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself.
So he built a high wall round it and put up a notice board. Trespassers will be prosecuted. He was a very selfish giant. Now the poor children had nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of stones. They wandered around the high walls when their school got over and talked about the beautiful garden inside. Then came the spring, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant, it was still winter. The birds did not care to sing in it, as there were no children, and the trees forgot to blossom. Once a beautiful flower put its head out of the grass, but when it saw the notice board, it was so sorry for the children that it slipped back into the ground again and went off to sleep. The only people who were pleased were the snow and the frost. The snow covered the grass and it looked white. The frost painted the tree silver.
I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming,
said the selfish giant, as he sat at the window and looked out at his cold, white garden.
I hope there will be a change in the weather.
But the spring never came, nor did the summer. One morning, when the giant woke up, he heard some lovely music. It was a little bird singing outside his window. It seemed to him the most beautiful music in the world. A nice perfume reached him. Hoping that the spring had come to his garden at last, the giant jumped out of the bed and looked out. The north wind had stopped dancing in his garden, and the hail had stopped roaring. The snow and the frost had disappeared. He saw the most wonderful sight. Through a hole in the wall, the children had crept in, and they were sitting on the trees. The trees were so glad to have the children back again that they had covered themselves with blossoms. The birds were flying around, chirping with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. Some children were playing on the grass. It was a lovely scene. Only in one corner of the garden, it was still winter. A very small boy was crying, as he could not climb a tree. As the giant looked at this child, his heart melted. How selfish I have been, he said.
Now I know why the spring did not come here. I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever.
He was really very sorry for what he had done. So he crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw him, they were so scared that they all ran away, and there was winter again. Only the little boy in the corner did not run. His eyes were full of tears, and he did not see the giant coming. The giant gently picked him up and took him in his arms and put him up on one of the branches. Birds came and sang on the tree, and there were blossoms on it again. The little boy stretched out his arms and flung them round the giant's neck and kissed him. When the other children saw that the giant was not wicked any longer, they came running back, and along with them came spring.
"It's your garden now, little children,"
said the giant. He took a big hammer and knocked down the wall. All day long the children played in the garden, and in the evening came to the giant to bid him goodbye. Every afternoon, when school was over, the children came and played with the giant. Years passed by. As the giant grew old, he sat on a chair and watched the children playing. He would say,
"I have many beautiful flowers, but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all."